Fans of the horror genre should be familiar by now with the famous horror games such as Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Dead Space, and so on. And true horror fans know the slightly less famous games that are just as good, such as Lost in Vivo, Iron Lung, The Baby in Yellow, etc. These games are just as scary and interesting, but we are going to go down the rabbit hole even more, deep into the iceberg of horror games, and we are going to find 12 eerily scary games that will leave you very uncomfortable. Number 1. The Static Speaks My Name. First game on this list is a short game that starts as many indie horror games do. The player wakes up in the middle of the night and has a few simple objectives to do, such as use bathroom, eat food, chat with friends on the computer, and so on. However, all of these objectives are completed in a questionable manner, which itself sets the tone for something disturbing about objectives 5 and 6. Nothing can prepare the player for the final 2 objectives. But what are those objectives? Well, you will need to play the game for yourself and find out. The game is free on Steam, and it's pretty short, but successfully manages to hit the eerie feeling of anticipation of something horrible that's about to happen. Number 2. 12 Floors Below. You wake up in an elevator going down. You don't know how you ended up there. A voice on the telecom tells you that the world is covered with an infection causing people to turn into flesh-eating monsters. The person on the telecom instructs you to get off of the elevator on a specific floor, and you will be able to leave. They also tell you not to continue down with the elevator past that specific floor, or you will come face to face with the infected. Are they telling you the truth, or are they lying to you? And the floor that they're talking about, will it actually get you out of the sticky situation, or will it get you into a worse one instead? Before you can make a decision, another person interferes and stops the elevator. And what they tell you makes your decision much harder to make. Their voice is soft, calm, almost pleasant to hear.
Du kan ta det lugnt, jag kommer inte komma in i hissen. Du vill bara berätta vad som faktiskt händer så du vet att hon ljuger för dig. Jag är en av dem som hon pratat om tidigare. För jag antar att hon berättat var det är någonstans och vart hon vill att du ska gå av. Det brukar hon göra. Om vi säger så här. Om de låst in alla sjuka i en källare tillsammans och skickat dit dem med hissen du står i just nu. Varför skulle de försöka rädda dig? Om det finns ens en promilles risk att du är smittad av viruset de pratar om, varför skulle de då släppa ut dig?
They tell you they are not a monster, but a prisoner of the experiments that they conduct on others. The same experiments that they will conduct on you, and that the person on the intercom is lying. Surely someone with such a voice can't be a flesh-eating monster, right?
Whenever you see a hearse go by, you know you'll be the next to die. They wrap you up in bloody sheets and throw you down 10,000 feet. They put you in a big black box and cover you up with dirt and rocks. All goes well for about a week until your coffin begins to leak.
Number 3. Rule of Rose. Now, let's move on to a game with a much higher production, but one that remains just as eerie. Rule of Rose is a horror game released for the PlayStation 2 in 2006. Due to its rarity, it is considered one of the most expensive games on eBay. You play as an orphan girl sent to an orphanage, but this orphanage holds many secrets, and it's not just the scary supernatural creatures you will have to worry about. Every character in this game is disturbingly evil. They commit acts that will get this video demonetized, or maybe even deleted if we describe them. What's worse is that most characters are below the age of 18. The acts that these characters commit involve harassment, animal abuse, and let's just say this is one of those games that you would not want to be caught playing by your family at specific parts of the story. Rule of Rose is also very difficult and unforgiving. If you want to get into this game, make sure you play it alone, because some content will make you want to wash yourself to get rid of the disturbing and uncomfortable feeling that the game gives you. How did Sony agree to let this game into the library for the PlayStation 2 is still very confusing. Number 4. Bad Mojo. Bad Mojo is a game where the player enters a world of perilous puzzles and bizarre perspectives as a cockroach. What you discover may shock you. What you don't may kill you. The main character is an unfortunate person who doesn't have much luck in life, but one day his life changes as he gets turned into a cockroach. Crawl through pipes, cables, dirty sinks, and other dirty places around apartments and other places, seeing the world through a different perspective, and figure out why this is happening to you. Disgusting, disturbing, but also very interesting. See if you can get through the obstacles in Bad Mojo. Number 5. Neverending Nightmares. How about a game inspired by the creator's struggles with his own mental health, depression, and OCD? The player takes the role of a defenseless protagonist who has to avoid monstrous manifestations that haunt his subconscious while trying to wake up into reality. The stylized graphics make the effect of uncomfortable feelings stronger, and as the player descends through the layers of hellish dreams, the disturbing events become more horrific. Branching narrative, black and white artwork graphics, haunting atmosphere, and plot inspired by a person's real mental issues make for a pretty unnerving and disturbing game. Number 6. Faith, the Unholy Trinity. Now we dive into a horror game inspired by the 8-bit gaming era, but that doesn't take anything away from the game. It actually adds to the uncomfortable atmosphere. The game is based on the satanic scare of the 1980s with demonic possessions, haunted places, and crazed cultists. Discover a world of dread, isolation, and mystery as you explore the forests, abandoned churches, and the inner sanctums of satanic cults. The game is separated into 3 chapters and offers a lot of playtime. The plot starts with 2 priests who arrive in rural Connecticut to investigate an apparent case of demonic possession. After a while, what they find is much more frightening and evil. The 8-bit graphics are used in extremely creative ways that add even more to the game's horror, which is accompanied by 8-bit sound design that will leave you with quite the disturbing feeling.
I shall not be afraid of the terror in the night.
Number 7. Discover My Body. Where do we even begin with this one? We are still in the simpler 8-bit graphics style section of the video, but don't let that fool you. This is a game that made most of the YouTubers who played it very uncomfortable. In the year 2040, human beings look for increasingly strange solutions in hopes of finding connection and community. People have started to look to technology and science for their need to belong. This led to them injecting themselves with a physically powerful lab-synthesized fungi that makes drastic changes to their bodies. What happened is that humans began growing disturbing extra parts on their bodies, while other parts would fall off, decay, or even morph into something else. These extra parts that humans grew on their bodies because of the fungi take the shape of the trauma, fears, and dreams of the host. The player takes the role of a medical student tasked with the job to scan the bodies of patients injected with the fungi, see the side effects, and witness the hideous growths on their bodies. Within progressing through the game, the player will witness some very disturbing images on their scanner upon scanning the patients and hear their agonizing reactions firsthand. If you want to experience this bizarre idea, the game is free to download. Have fun! Number 8. Real Horror Stories. Real Horror Stories is a simple puzzle game with simple plot. Stories tell of a dark forest. Many lives have been lost there. The player enters this forest and experiences its horrors. The game uses the old Flash player mechanics in a creative way, and the hauntings and scares make for some really unnerving content. There isn't much story, but the disturbing images are made well enough to make you look over your shoulder, especially if you're playing in the middle of the night with the lights off. Keep in mind, it does have some jump scares. Number 9. It Lurks in the Woods. It Lurks in the Woods is a short first-person horror game based on French-Canadian folklore. The game starts simple, like many horror games. The player wanders through the woods alone, searching for a specific place, where, because of his actions, he unleashes something unknown. Not really a monster, not a demon, not even a ghost, but something that has been there for decades that will make the player wanting to forget hearing its screams and bone-chilling moans. The game is short and free on Steam, so if you have an hour to kill and want the disturbing screams and moans to stick with you for the next few days, give this game a try. Number 10. Theater Unrest. Now, let's visit a game that is based on a good old creepypasta. However, leaving the original creepypasta aside, we are going to concentrate on the game alone. The player finds himself in a movie theater, and upon entering it to watch a movie, a series of symbols show up on the screen. Then it cuts out to a different vision of the same theater, with an uneasy voice talking. Then, the game goes back to normal. Well, as normal as a game like this could be. The hallways are red, the frames have no pictures on them, the atmosphere is eerie. However, within progress, events and happenings start to creep their way into the hallways, making the player paranoid and very confused. This is a game that doesn't explain much, but with time, it gets more and more unnerving with its clever scares and subtle spooks. The game is available for only $1 on itch.io, and it has been played by many YouTubers, who highly recommend it. Number 11. Dispatch. How about a game that might strike a little too close to home? If you are sensitive to domestic violence, please skip this entry. Have you heard records of disturbing 911 calls? Well, how about taking part in them as a dispatch? In this game, the player takes the role of a dispatch dealing with 911 calls. The outcome of the emergencies the callers have all depend on the player's dialogue choices. Some calls are silly and minor, but there is one that will make the player feel horrible, especially if they make the wrong choice.
Dad pushed her. She wasn't moving. Bleeding on the floor. He's downstairs. I ran to my room. I can hear him breaking things. No, but I could put a chair in front of it. Mom did it once. Please help my mom. I can smell burning.
The game is short, but manages to be very investing, making the player get the sense of emergency. It's a unique idea, and hopefully other game makers will take inspiration and expand on the idea of a game about 911 dispatch. Number 12. My Friend is a Raven. The last game on this list. My Friend is a Raven is a short but very artistic and depressing game with unique styled graphics that give the sense of dread. The world has ended because of a plague, food and resources are gone, and many have decided to escape this post-apocalyptic world by taking their own lives, losing all hope of a better future. The player takes the role of the last person alive who returns to his old apartment one last time. Everything is rotten, dusted, and in the verge of ruins. Upon looking around and interacting with objects and items, the character remembers of the old times, before everything died, and more is revealed about the situation that the world is in. The uneasy sense of dread and lonely isolation accompanied with out-of-tune music and depressing atmosphere makes for a very zero-hope game. It's up to you to decide what to do with the little choices you are left with. Would you give up, try to redeem yourself, or would you go on the path of revenge? My Friend is a Raven is free on Steam and invites you into a concept that will make you appreciate and remind you to enjoy the things in life we have taken for granted. And there you have it, 12 eerily scary games that will leave you very uncomfortable. Make sure you click the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and leave some thoughts in the comments. Hope some of these games piqued your interest, and thanks for watching.